hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again.
Is he not a Maryland man? What? I'll have you believe, sir, he's actually not from Maryland.
He's actually not from Maryland. He's actually not from Maryland.
Yesterday, you may have missed the morning show because I was at the White House. We had requested interviews with several individuals at the White House, and we ended up getting invited to do some of these interviews with several individuals, notably Secretary Kristi Noem, Sebastian Gorka, as well as Secretary Sean Duffy. Very interesting. We're going to be putting those out today, tomorrow, and I believe Monday we have them. And additionally, I was asked that if I was available, would I like to take the new media seat in the White House press pool? And they would give me 1 or 2 questions to kick things off, and I could just ask whatever I wanted. I did. Oh boy, is the liberal media losing their minds. They are so angry. And this is the funny thing about this entire narrative, because let me break this down for you. No one told me what to ask. I had a genuine question. What I am irked by with the White House press briefings is that they are dominated by a media that may as well be one company. Whether it be ABC News, CNN, or the New York Times, they all report the exact same things. Now, one might normally say, well, that just means what they're reporting is true, right? I mean, if the sky is blue and everybody says the sky is blue, it's because they're correct. But what about when they lie and falsely frame things? And I'm going to show you exactly how they're falsely framing even this story, proving my point. Well, then it's not that they're telling the truth. It's that they are one homogenous corporate apparatus and not a press. Most of the people in that room, not all, some are actually pretty good. And I don't just mean the new MAGA influencer types they're referring to, like Mary Margaret from Daily Wire or Elad from Timcast. No, I mean, there's actual journalists there who ask real questions. And again, I also don't just mean Ducey from Fox News. He's great, by the way. No, I mean, it's not everybody, but they're institutions. Take, for instance, the Maryland man hoax, which is what I brought up intentionally to point out that there are people in this room that perpetually march in lockstep with false narratives. And so I want to know, I want to, in the politest way that I could, I want to know why the White House allows them to do this. Are they going to be expanding this seat? And they say it's sucking up and it's a soft ball. Gilmar Abrego Garcia is a man from El Salvador, okay? We don't say he's from Maryland because he's not. He hasn't even been there, I think, 6 years, maybe. I mean, isn't the dude in his late 30s? So barely a fraction of his life is in Maryland and say he's a Maryland man? No, that is a manipulation. It's called a framing device in media to trick you into making the wrong assumption. And it worked. Hassan Piker, one of the biggest streamers on the left, literally did not know that Abrego Garcia, the El Salvador man, MS-13 gang member, and whose wife claims he mercilessly beat her on numerous occasions, Hassan Piker did not know this guy was from El Salvador. And so what I said was, guys, if I thought that Trump had accidentally kidnapped an American citizen who was not a member of MS-13 in a dragnet sweep, I would be saying the same things as him. I'd say, Trump, you got to bring the guy back. What are you doing? And then Trump said, well, sorry, he's in El Salvador now. He can't get him. I'd be like, what? You sent an American citizen with no charge or trial to El Salvador? Oh, wait, what's the real story? An El Salvador man and gang member who was arrested and adjudicated as removable by his own admission was sent back without a USCIS interview. Oh, darn. We didn't get that USCIS interview to determine the conditions of his home country. That was the administrative error. Yeah, not a good one. But Hassan Piker didn't know this. I've got the clip. He's trying to backtrack now, saying, no, I knew. But he didn't. When I said in the press briefing, there's a Maryland man, Hassan thought I was insinuating he was from the greater Maryland area. I was referring to a suburb or D.C., as if he wasn't really from there. My dude. He's from El Salvador. But see, when the media marches in lockstep with this lie, a person like Hassan, probably getting his news from headlines and not actually investigating, sees Maryland man and says, whoa, Trump deported an American citizen? And he gets shocked by it. That's why they do it. Worse, let's imagine that Hassan Piker actually thought he was doing his research, and he pulls up 5 different outlets that all say this man was from Maryland. He goes, wow, this is some Maryland guy who got caught up in this dragnet. In reality, he's not a Maryland man and never was. And think about it this way. Someone asks me where I'm from. Do you know what I say? Well, I've been in West Virginia for 5 years. Am I going to say I'm from West Virginia? No. I say, oh, I'm from Chicago, but I live in West Virginia. Everybody I know says that. They'll say I'm from this area, but I live here. Because where you are from is a reference to where you were born and grew up. Now, to be fair, there are some circumstances where someone might say, oh, I'm from Chicago. I was born in insert country, but moved there as a child, right? Yeah. Take a look at this from The Daily Beast. MAGA podcaster goes full suck up in first White House press briefing. Tim Pool was paid handsomely to spread pro-Russia talking points. Fake news. That's a lie. All they do is lie. I will address it because I got no problem doing so. I was given a contract to do a show. Or I got to clarify this. I had a contract with a Tennessee-based company to license non-exclusively a show I already made on my own that still exists to this day and is the 10th biggest live stream in the country. So when we do a debate on, I don't know, Carmelo Anthony or religion, I believe this Friday, our debate is going to be on sects of Christianity. They are lying because that's what they do. This is why we call it a cult. This is why we call it propaganda and a fake news machine. If you watch this show or you watch the Culture War podcast, you're like, this is barely geopolitical. We're not talking about Ukraine or Russia. We did one debate on Ukraine and Russia. One. I think we did one on Israel too. But for the most part, we did one on UFOs. We had one episode on banning foods, like things like that. We did a libertarian anti-war, maybe a little bit geopolitical. But they're lying. Check this out. They're going to say a Trump-supporting podcaster who was allegedly paid massive sums by Russian state media. I was never alleged to have been paid by anything by Russian state media. They're putting that in there because they're upset that I called them out for lying to people. Let me show you this. From The Hill. Maryland man is a sort of thing that cost the media its credibility, from Beckett Adams at The Hill. Okay. I've showed this so many times. The horse is no longer dead and being beaten. It has been pulverized into a fine paste. This is the court document for Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. And the reason I'm showing this, bear with me, guys. Some of you may be saying, Tim, you've shown this a million times. The average person watches 10 videos of mine per month. So most people haven't seen this document. So I've got to show it. It says, 1, respondent is not a citizen of the United States, is a native of El Salvador, entered the U.S. at or near an unknown place at an unknown time, and was not admitted or paroled by an immigration officer. At a master calendar hearing, the respondent, through counsel, admitted the factual allegations contained in the NTA and conceded removability as charged. This man is from El Salvador, subject to deportation, and he said, yes, you are correct. The administrative error was that he requested a withholding of deportation, saying, please don't deport me yet. They'll kill me. And so the ruling is, you can't be here, you have to leave, but we won't send you to die, which is reasonable. The situation in El Salvador has changed. The threats against Kilmar are very different. He feared a gang based in Guatemala, but El Salvador has largely cleaned up its streets and it's safe now, and he has little to fear from external gangs. What is supposed to happen is a USCIS interview with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and they say, your initial fear was opposition gangs in Guatemala. However, Nayib Bukele has cleaned up El Salvador. Now it is safe for you to go home. Withholding, void. That's the normal process. Instead, they ignored or missed the USCIS interview and sent him home. Okay. So I believe Andrew Brick referred to this as harmless error in a court proceeding, meaning that it doesn't change the circumstances. So who cares? The Democrats have backed completely off this narrative. They're now appearing on Fox saying, no, we're not defending this guy at all, because it turns out he beats his wife and he's an MS-13 gang member. But let me show you how they frame things. Instead of just not saying anything with the fact that I just asked a question, they're running smears. And they didn't just run smears against me. They ran smears against all of the other companies that exist in the press briefing room. We're just companies. When they ask a question, I ask a question. Of course, we might disagree on things. Why then run this as a news segment? Now, look, I'm a pundit. If they want to do a podcast or write an op-ed, I got no problem. This is not an op-ed. Daily Beast is running the story as if it's news. They then go on to add, completely out of context and for no reason, lies. They claim prosecutors received $10 million from two Russian media. They say worked for Tenet Media. I did not work for Tenet Media. They are lying. We were not paid to spread any information. The arguments, should it be, I will say this too. The Tenet thing doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Apparently, they had dropped it before even Trump got into office, making any sane person wonder why they brought an indictment that they weren't pursuing in the first place. No one's ever seen these individuals. There's been no proof of wrongdoing. There's been no evidence of wrongdoing, just allegations. But that being said, we had a license for the Culture War podcast that exists right now and has never gone anywhere and has existed before, during, and after. But this is the game they're playing. So they're lying. That's what they do. They're saying that the money was to spread Russian propaganda, except no one ever instructed our company to do anything. We only ever produced the shows we want to do, and we still produce those shows. They make it seem like it was a large sum of money, but I'll say this with full confidence. The money that we got paid was inconsequential to this business. But I digress. I'm not going to waste your time on that. Here you go. NJ.com. Again, figured they'd be writing news articles, not op-eds. But it's disguised as politics. NJ.com True Jersey writes, beanie-wearing Russian-bought MAGA influencer roasted at White House. That's not a news article. What is this headline? I don't know. This is the problem I have with the media. They lie about everything all the time. They don't investigate. They don't care what's true. Case in point. The Poke. Now, I have no idea what the Poke is, but sure, it popped up on Google. Right-wing perma-beanied YouTuber. Okay, that's fair. Tim Pool now has a press pass for the White House. Hat tip to these 19 reactions. No, I don't. I literally do not have a press pass to the White House. This is a lie. They don't do any investigation. I was brought out specifically by I believe it was White House Communications, to sit in the new media seat. It was an invite from the White House to come in. I completely agree with any criticism of course, the White House wants to invite people who have an opposing view to the corporate press. Likely, it's going to agree with the White House. That's why they're doing it. No one told me what to ask. No one asked me to ask anything. They told me literally ask whatever you want. And the first question I actually had, because Elad Eliyahu, Timcast White House correspondent, said, you should ask about the Chinese national security threat. Normal media question. And I said, yeah, but I'm kind of irked by the fact that they've got all these corporate press in here. They still dominate this room, and they treat everyone like me with disdain, despite the fact that we get bigger viewership than them. Who are they? Who are they? And so that was the question I asked. When they all publish the same lies, my issue is they're clearly not journalists. They're just lying. Because if any one of these individuals actually did the investigation, they would have found that Abrego Garcia is not a Maryland man. I love this one. Daily Kos, to be fair, is an activist website. White House press briefing just keeps getting worse. Yeah. This photo is not with me in it. There's I don't know who that is, but he's got American flag cowboy boots. They're going to mention they brought in Tim Pool, who's granted the privilege of asking her the first question of the day. Pool proceeded to team up with the White House spokesperson to spew lies about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran migrant who was abducted due to administrative error by Trump. What lie? I said they're calling him a Maryland man, but he's an MS-13 gang member. I didn't even get into great detail. Two different courts, I should say two different immigration judges, said he's MS-13. He was arrested on MS-13, identified as an informant, as a Chequeo by the name of Chele, who had gang clothes on and tattoos. And that was sufficient that was his due process. Two different judges, a judge and an appellate judge. And they said, yeah, he's MS-13. So what did I lie about? All I said in this, and I think they have the quote here, Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now it's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member, adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again. Where's the lie? Even by their own standard, the only argument they can make is he's not an MS-13 gang member. Okay, well, I said adjudicated by 2 different judges. So my point is 2 judges said he's MS-13. Where's the lie? They have to play this game to cover up that they are lying. Oh boy. Mega commentator who took money from Russia. No, I didn't. Admitted to White House briefing and giving first question. Never took money from Russia. In fact, they're not even investigating this anymore. Now, and I stress this too. I believe that case, I'm fairly certain it was abandoned almost immediately after it happened. Immediately after they dropped the news, they just didn't investigate any of it. And now it's gone. I'm not going to get into details as to why just yet, how I know this, but that seems to be the case. Interesting. Now I give you the ramifications. Hassan Piker, the preeminent leftist streamer, did not know this. And I'm not saying this to rag on Hassan, but he is very offended. But listen to this.
Hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland man over and over again.
Now, I want to pause. I may actually be talking that fast. No, I'm kidding. I'm assuming he has me on 2 times speed.
Is he not a Maryland man? What? I'll have you believe, sir. He's actually not from Maryland. He's from D.C. Like,
yo, homie, he's not from Maryland. Hassan didn't know this.
Is that what Beanie Boy's saying? He is not a man. He's not a man from Maryland. Yeah, Maryland is fake. Russia Today correspondent Tim Pool. Yep. Yeah, I
love that. How is Tim Pool there? Where is his suit?
I love the centrist liberal Tim Pool. Hey guys, centrist liberalism.
This is a really great point to be made. First, Hassan didn't know this guy was from El Salvador. He says, "Is he not from Maryland?" He's not. He's from El Salvador. He's barely only spent a few years in Maryland. And he was in a bunch of other places in the country as well. He's been here well longer than the past 5 or 6 years. So where was he from when he came here? Hassan didn't know. And so I feel bad. I mean, he's obviously trying to save face. He's saying, well, you can be from somewhere without being born there. I'm like, bro, dude was born in a foreign country. Okay? He didn't even spend most of his life in Maryland. I'm not going to move to New York and say I'm from New York. Nobody says, okay, maybe some people might lie. But you ask most people where you're from, and they're going to tell you they're home. They're going to say, I live over on 13th, but, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Akron or whatever. He didn't know. But he makes another good point in this. When he's like, I love centrist liberal Tim Pool. Bro, I didn't make a point about politics. I made a point about the media running a false narrative. How is that conservative? Honest question. This is the state of this politics in this country. As I've long said, the evidence is clear. Left and right is no longer about your political leanings. It's about whether you believe in reality or not. For Hassan Piker, you can only be on the left if you believe the lies from the left, because he thinks it's true. He thinks this guy was born or he's changed his position, but he's saying he's from Maryland. He's not from Maryland. He's not a resident of Maryland. He is an illegal resident, if you want to argue that, a subset of resident. But resident implies legal status. Now, this is a guy that illegally entered the country, was ordered final deportation, admitted to his lawyers he was an El Salvadoran who was deportable and not supposed to be here. And they simply said, please don't, I will die. So he got deported to prison, and now he's in prison. MS-13 gang members go to prison in El Salvador. Hassan didn't know, and then mocks the idea that I would be a centrist liberal. But that's amazing, isn't it? I didn't say deport all illegal immigrants and drop all the taxes and ban gay marriage. I didn't say any of that. I said the media is running a false narrative, as they often have. Can you comment on this? What's the political leanings of that? Is it socialist? Is it free market capitalist? Is it authoritarian right wing? Is it ethno-identitarian? Nope, none of it. It's literally those people over there are lying. Aha! You're conservative for calling them liars. Why? They're lying.
Is he wearing a hoodie under his suit jacket? Oh,
no. Bro, This is the problem with the left in this country. Homie didn't even know that this is just, it's just a hoodie. Just look, it's just it's a regular hoodie. And when, I can go like this and cover up, but when I throw the hood back, the sides unfold. And so it just looks like that. It's just a black and white hoodie. It's not even expensive. It's a fleece, like, I don't know, $30 hoodie or something. It's from True Classic. Okay. Got an ad on Instagram for it. Hassan couldn't even tell. Here's the point. For people like Hassan, he's a bit arrogant. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I am too. But you combine that with glancing at things without investigating them, and what do you get? Hassan Piker says, is he wearing a hoodie under his suit jacket? No. If Hassan had actually watched the video in full, he would have been like, oh, he's just wearing a hoodie. If he actually looked up the court records of what was going on, he'd say, oh, wait, this guy actually is from El Salvador. He's not from Maryland. Instead, he just says whatever he has to say. He's good at it. He's good at it. But I say this. You start to realize Hassan Piker's position is largely predicated upon believing lies from the media. Now, of course, this dude is too scared to ever speak out against his audience. He would lose a ton of followers. It's happened before, and he freaked out and threatened to shut everything down and I think commit self-harm. I'm like, that's terrible, because he was losing followers. That's how terrified this guy is of saying things that don't align with his own audience. And as all of you know, I certainly have none of those fears. Because what did I lose? Like 5,000 followers or something when I was tweeting about Carmelo Anthony? Yeah. I'm going to say what I think is true based on the facts and evidence, and we'll have those debates. There have been numerous instances where people have yelled at me saying, why aren't you believing what I'm telling you to believe? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't. And you can get mad. That's what's going to happen. But here we are, my friends. We're going to be rolling out these interviews in the noon live show. We will be discussing immigration and Kristi Noem. It's going to be fun. I'm going to leave it there, my friends. Stay tuned. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. And follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. We'll see you all in the next segment.